दिशा में है तू ही दिखे, किस्सा अकीदत का कैसे लिखे, दीदार से तेरे मिलता सुकून, आनंद ही आनंद है क्या मैं कहूँ, नूर का साया रखना सदायों, नूर का साया रखना सदायों, होगी हम पर तेरी इनायत, अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद, अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद. Listen to the angels calling your name, wanting for the mercy of your flame, this light you've bestowed upon us today. All of the darkness is now gone away. You are the Noor, son of Ali. You are the Noor, son of Ali. You are the progeny of Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wale Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wale Muhammad. ओ मारा मौला तू ही जे सलाम, शाही जमान अमारो इमाम, लइए छे तारो जनाम, कर जो करमो शाही सलाम. ओ मारा मौला तारा थी सलाम, ओ मारा मौला तारा थी सलाम, तारा थी हमारो जीवन सलामत. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन वाले मुहम्मद.
Human beings are connected to the divine light through the Ruh, spirit, which Allah breathed into us. Our soul is caged in our body and yearns for freedom. Dhikr, reflection, ibadah, and devotion through literature are practices that draw the soul closer to that light.
بشنو از نی چون حکایت می کند، از جدایی ها شکایت می کند. از نیستان تا مرا ببریده اند، در نفیرم مرد و زن نالیده اند. سینه خواهم شرح از فراق، تا بگویم شرح درد اشتیاق. هر کسی کو دور ماند از اصل خویش، باز جوید روزگار وصل خویش. من به هر جمعیت نالان شدم، جفت بدحالان و خوشحالان شدم. جفت بدحالان و خوشحالان شدم.
Our journey on this earth is a short period in eternity. The life of our soul is eternal and continues to live in divine love. Those who travel the path of search maintain that our soul originated from God, separated from the Creator, and longs to return to Him. Since Iman takes practical forms, one of the ways in which Muslims express their faith is by seeking the love of God. For Ismaili Muslims, the Imam of the times' love and guidance light the murid's path towards spiritual enlightenment and vision. Devotional poetry expresses sentiments of pain, of separation, longing to return, and vision or gaze of the beloved.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let us begin with a poem attributed to Khalil Gibran, where he narrates the journey of a river, which many of us may be able to relate to in our own life journeys. He says that as a river approaches the ocean, it is trembling with fear. While it knows where it has come from and how far it has traveled, the ocean is completely different from anything it has ever experienced before. This river is so afraid that if it enters the ocean, it will disappear, that it simply wants to stop and turn back. But it knows that going back is impossible, and the only path is the path forward. But to do so, the river has to take the risk of entering into the unknown, and only then will the fear disappear, because only then will it realize that entering the ocean does not mean disappearing, but it means becoming the ocean. Many of us can think of a time in our life where we didn't want to enter into an unknown situation because of fear, whether it be fear of the unknown or fear of change, whatever that fear might have been. Yet, from this poem, we learn the only way the river can persevere and overcome that feeling of fear is by letting go and submitting. Tonight marks a night that brought transformation into the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it is that night of transformation that has shaped our identity as Muslims. So perhaps tonight, on this night of power, we can all reflect on our own transformations, and perhaps that transformation begins with the word Islam itself, which means submission. This submission we speak of is not simply a material act, but a state of mind. A state of mind that helps move us towards removing the veils between us and the divine. And with each step we take towards the divine, submission becomes a state of being in which every action, every word, every thought is a reflection of that submission, because our whole being has become a part of something greater. Perhaps the first step in that process towards submission as a state of being is trust. In the Quran, one way in which we understand trust is the reference to tawakkul. The word tawakkul is derived from wakala, meaning to entrust. Allah is al-Wakil, the disposer of all affairs, the one relied upon and is sufficient to take care of all matters. Tawakkul means that when we are faced with any challenges, any situation which stops us from achieving our goals, we turn to Allah for His support. In verse 159 of Surah Al Imran, it indicates that when we intend to perform an important task, the first step is consultation, followed by decision, after which one should place one's reliance on Allah. When we think about tawakkul, we may all have different ways of understanding what it means to us. What I am reminded of is an old interview by the boxer Muhammad Ali, where he is asked whether he has a bodyguard. He essentially says no, but goes on to describe that his bodyguard is one who has no eyes but sees, has no ears but hears. He remembers everything without the aid of mind and memory. And he ends by saying, "It is Allah who is his bodyguard." This statement would indicate that Muhammad Ali truly believed that Allah was constantly there and that he could rely on him no matter what the situation. This is the sentiment that links back to Ayat 81 in Surah An-Nisa, which says, وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ وَكِيلًا. And trust in God. God suffices as a guardian. Tawakkul has been connected to many actions and phrases in the Quran, a few of which are sajda and quwwat, which is prostration and strength. So perhaps the first step in tawakkul is sajda or prostration. And the moment we prostrate to Allah and place our situation in His hands is the moment we receive strength or quwwat from Him. In this way, we view prostration and not just a physical action, but a prostration of the heart and mind, which is really submission. And it is through that submission that we receive the strength to face even that which is completely out of our control. When we think about the situations we are currently in, it may be hard for us to plan the next few months, let alone the next few weeks, which may frustrate us. Our parents and grandparents are stuck at home. Young children can't go out and play with their friends. Students are not able to walk for their graduation ceremonies. I can go on, but we all know the reality of these struggles and the frustrations that come with it. And while the current situation is unique, situations such as these, which are completely out of our hands, are not unique. Every single one of us have had those moments where we have been faced with sadness, with challenges, with pain, with anxiety or stress. If we truly think about them, though, we will notice these are moments in our lives when things happen that are beyond our power to control or fix. But as we fixate on these instances and trying to change these instances, we lose sight of the fact that there are some things that are just out of our control. And when it is out of our control, no amount of stress, no amount of anxiety or willfulness will produce a different outcome. But it is this very act of letting go which is hard for us, especially in today's society, because control is equated to strength. But in certain situations, there is more strength and bravery in realizing when to let go and submit to Allah and allow Him to provide us with strength, with hope, with faith, and with clarity to cope. Each one of us is like the river Khalil Gibran spoke about. Every day, new situations are presented to us as vast unknown oceans. And you and I have choices to make. How will we choose to engage with these moments? Perhaps it is the submission to the divine that grounds us, that reminds us to have strength in difficult times, and allows us to achieve peace even in moments of uncertainty. Allah reminds us in the Quran that it is in this night that peace it is until the break of dawn. Tonight is a night of reflection, for submission, to let go of that which we cannot control, and to realign ourselves to those reflections that help us reach our potential. Will we choose to allow the current circumstances to shape us for the better? How do we ensure that we are able to make these moments moments of positive transformation? Let us conclude with some inspiring words of Allama Iqbal, in which he says every submission has to be with love, otherwise it is an empty action. सजदा ए इश्क हो तो इबादत में मजा आता है सजदा ए इश्क हो तो इबादत में मजा आता है खाली सजदों में तो दुनिया ही बसा करती है. When our sajda, our prostration, is full of love, it is then that there is beauty in worship. Without love and intention, the act of sajda or prostration is simply a material act. Let us allow this night to be a true submission with our hearts.
The Valley of Unity. In the next valley, the birds were overjoyed to find themselves together again. They danced and swirled around each other, singing at the top of their voices in the Valley of Unity. Here, everything that had been broken into pieces became one again. The birds had been separated like tiny drops of water above the ocean. Now they came together to rise as one mighty wave. On the shore, the birds noticed a wonderful palm tree made of wax. It was decorated with 100 colors. A woman came along and began to squeeze the tree. After some time, all the colors became one. The tree was no more, only the wax remained. The birds looked at themselves. They too were made of 100 colors. If they looked within themselves, would they find something that was the same? The birds searched for a long time. At last, the answer came to them. When they looked deep inside one another, they no longer saw different birds with different shapes and colors. Instead, they found that they were one.
The Valley of Astonishment. Not many birds had made it this far. The few who remained did not know where they were. In the Valley of Astonishment, it was day and night at the same time. The birds found that they were in the middle of the valley, and yet as its ends. They could not tell whether they were sad or happy, dead or alive. While crossing the valley, the birds felt as if they were in a strange dream. They could not understand what they saw. Nothing like this had happened to them before. Never had there been a more astonishing mystery. While hearing nothing, they heard everything. While seeing nothing, they saw everything. What they saw, they would always remember. The Valley of Death. At last, after many years, the birds came to the seventh and final valley. Of all the valleys, this was the most astounding. Thousands of shadows disappeared in a single ray of sunlight. Thousands of waves melted into a vast ocean. The birds saw 3 moths dancing around a candle. The first moth looked on from afar, curious to know what the flame was. The second grew very hot as it came close. It still did not know everything about the flame. The third lost itself in the flame. It alone knew the flame's secret. The birds remained in the Valley of Death for a long time. They were the shadows becoming one with the light, the waves melting into the ocean, the moths dancing in the flame. Thousands of birds had set out on the great journey to find the Simurgh. Almost all of them had disappeared. Some had died of thirst, others were scorched by fire. Some were eaten by tigers, others had died of hunger.
Of the thousands, only 30 birds remained. Tired, confused, and frightened, they finally arrived at the palace of the Simurgh. The palace shone with thousands of suns, each one more brilliant than the other. Millions of moons and stars glittered on its walls. "O Simurgh, you who are brighter than the sun," cried Lupo, "please may we enter your palace?" The keeper of the Simurgh's court opened the gates. "What do you want here, you good-for-nothing flies?" he thundered. "Go away, the Simurgh does not want to see you." The birds were shocked. Was the Simurgh turning them away after they had traveled for so many years to see him? Did the Simurgh not feel the love that they had for him? How could he refuse to see them when all they wanted was to gaze at his face for a few moments? "O keeper of the court," they pleaded, "if you turn us away from the Simurgh, where will we go? We cannot fly anymore, for we have no wings left." On hearing these words, the keeper smiled. He had only been testing them. He began to draw back 1,000 veils, revealing light upon light. With each veil that was lifted, the birds entered a new world. As they passed through the veils, all they had done and everything they had been was washed away, until, finally, when the last veil was drawn aside, they saw the Simurgh. What was this? Were they looking into a mirror? Was this some kind of a trick? They could not understand it. "The Simurgh is none other than myself," exclaimed each bird. There they were, the 30 of them. And there was the sea, 30, Murgh, birds. They gazed upon their king, not knowing if they were still themselves or the Simurgh. The Simurgh finally spoke to them. "You who are 30 birds did well to be so full of love for me," he said. "This, along with the lessons of my valleys, brought you to me. Oh, 30 birds, I am truly none other than you, but I am more than you. Come and be one with me forever," said the Simurgh, stretching out his beautiful wings. And so they did. The 30 birds simply and happily lost themselves in the Simurgh forever.
To all my spiritual children who are present here today, and to your families, wherever they may be, I give my most affectionate, loving blessings for barakah and the resolution of whatever difficulties you may be facing. My brothers and sisters in Islam and other faiths should be assured that my deep and heartfelt prayers are with you for your peace, your unity, and for your happiness. Kanavadan, Kanavadan, Kanavadan. I also convey to you my warm gratitude for the magnificent copy of the Ottoman Quran Sharif that you have given to me. It will be a wonderful memory of my golden jubilee to Syria. Kanavadan, Kanavadan, Kanavadan.